If I told you Boise State was 3-0 against Oregon in football, some of you probably wouldn't believe me. But the truth is that Boise State has had Oregon's number since 2008. And I really think the 2024 matchup between the Oregon Ducks and Boise State Broncos is flying under the radar. And in this video, I wanted to talk about why this game has the potential to really shake up college football as a whole. Boise State beat a ranked Oregon team back-to-back seasons in 2008 and 2009. Oregon was a very good team both those years, and they won double-digit games those two seasons. But they still couldn't find a way to beat a sneaky group of 5 team like Boise State. And it didn't end there because those two teams would meet again in the 2017 Las Vegas Bowl, in which Boise State would win the game 38-28. Now we can fast forward to 2024, and these are two teams that are favorites to make the expanded college football playoff next season. And this Week 2 matchup between Oregon and Boise State could really help determine a lot of things. It's hard to see an Oregon team like this 2024 team dropping a game to Boise State, but it's college football and crazy stuff can happen. And Boise State has beaten Oregon not once, not twice, but 3 times since 2008, and Oregon is still yet to beat Boise State, so that alone makes me very hyped for this matchup. And this will kind of be an early preview of the 5 versus 12 seed in the playoffs, because a group of 5 team is guaranteed to make the playoffs next season. This is the biggest game on the schedule for Boise State, and you know Boise State is going to have this game circled, knowing they have a huge opportunity in this game. New head coach Spencer Danielson has really become a great leader for this team. He took over the job midway through last season and he turned the season around for Boise State. Boise State was on the road to missing their first bowl game in over 20 years. But Spencer Danielson really stepped up, and Boise State didn't just make a bowl game, but they won the Mountain West Conference. And next season, Boise State returns 18 starters. They return a very talented defense, and they return a beast at running back, who is Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty is a guy in the conversation to be a top 10 college football running back, because honestly, he is just that good, and he ran for well over 1,000 yards last season. And if you thought Boise State couldn't raise their ceiling any more for 2024, they went out and added 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson, who sat behind Caleb Williams in 2023. A lot of people question why the number 1 quarterback in the class of 2023 would transfer to a team like Boise State. But maybe people should be wondering how big of an impact a guy like Malachi Nelson could have for Boise State. And maybe the question should be, how did Boise State manage to pick him up? Ultimately, people are going to have their questions because he still hasn't proved himself. But he's a 5-star quarterback, and I think it was massive for Boise State to be able to pick up a guy like Malachi Nelson because he has a lot of potential and he could really help elevate that Boise State offense. And if Boise State takes a leap on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think I'd be able to name one group of 5 team that would be better than them. I am really high on this Boise State team, and I think the defense alone and the fact that they return a lot of starters makes them a top playoff contender. But if they figure it out on the offensive side of the ball and Boise State finds good quarterback play with Malachi Nelson, this team could be a huge sleeper. And if everything goes right for Boise State, they should definitely secure that group of 5 playoff spot. And maybe they do make some noise in the playoffs if we really want to throw out some bold takes. And there is no better way to prove yourself than by beating Oregon on the road. Even if they keep this game close, I think that would be a great showing from Boise State. People are really taking this Oregon team seriously. Dan Lanning is getting comfortable at Oregon, and year 3 has potential to be huge for Oregon. They returned a lot of production, and they had an incredible offseason bringing in a quarterback like Dylan Gabriel, who was one of the most experienced quarterbacks in college football. They also added the number 1 transfer portal receiver Evan Stewart to add to an already incredible receiving room. They added multiple studs in the secondary, most notably Jabbar Muhammad from Washington, who was one of the top cornerbacks in college football. You could probably consider every position group for Oregon in the top 5 next season. They have great quarterbacks, they have a very stacked running back room, and also added Jay Harris. The receiving room is insane. The offensive line was one of the best in the country last season, and they do return multiple pieces there. The secondary was not the strongest part of the team last season, but it was solid. But they didn't miss in the portal at stacking up their secondary, and I think this is a secondary that could become elite in 2024. The front 7 really came along last season, and Dan Lanning is slowly turning Oregon into a defensive-minded football team to get them ready for the Big Ten. They returned multiple pieces up front, with Jordan Birch and Mateo Yu coming back. The only position where I would put a brief question mark is at defensive tackle. They added 2 new faces from the portal, but let's not get confused because these are 2 very talented defensive tackles. Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell are both 4-star pickups. and Oregon has the second best transfer portal group in the country. This Oregon team is loaded with talent from top to bottom, so this is going to be a massive test for Boise State. You aren't just playing a good Oregon team like you were the last 3 times you played them, but this time you are possibly playing an elite football team that is one of the top contenders for the national championship next season. But Oregon really shouldn't take this Boise State team lightly either. Oregon nearly lost to Texas Tech in Week 2 of 2023, so Oregon shouldn't be looking ahead of their schedule, and they should really focus on beating Boise State. Because Boise State is on the rise and they are trying to get back to their standard of being the best Group of 5 team, and Boise State has been known for knocking off some of the best Power 5 teams over the years. In this 2024 Boise State squad may be one of the best in a while. This game could end up being a blowout, but I still believe this game deserves a lot more recognition than it is getting, because it really is getting overshadowed by other games, and this game might just have playoff implications. And if Boise State beat Oregon, that would shake up a lot of things. Boise State would jump high in the rankings, and this could honestly be a huge win for the Spencer Danielson era at Boise State, and it really could help their case for the college football playoffs. On the other hand, Oregon cannot afford to lose a game like this. They have a pretty tough schedule and they could easily drop a game to a team like Michigan or Ohio State. But if you add a Boise State loss on their schedule, that would really hurt their chances at the college football playoff. I do believe both of these teams are heading in the right direction, and this should be a pretty exciting matchup. Some people are looking at Boise State as the best Group of 5 team next season, and it is always fun to see a good Group of 5 team playing against one of the best Power 5 teams, because you never know when a crazy upset can happen. And Boise State has been known for upsetting good Power 5 teams, and they are 3-0 against Oregon. But this is a different Oregon team, and an upset does seem unlikely in this game. But I am still interested to see this matchup, and I'm interested to see if Boise State can at least give Oregon a close game. Because if they do, I really think we have to take this Boise State team seriously. And if they get a 12 seed in the playoff, they could possibly be a sneaky team, and they could be a problem for the 5 seed. All we can do is speculate, but the fact that we are having a 12-team playoff this season makes this game even more interesting, because I wouldn't be surprised if these two teams met as the 5 and the 12 seed for a rematch in the college football playoffs. I'm glad the Group of 5 can get a spot in the college football playoff, and maybe a Group of 5 team never makes it past the first round, but crazy things happen in college football, and a 12 seed beating a 5 seed would be crazy, and it would really shake things up. And this early season game between Boise State and Oregon is a small preview of what a Group of 5 versus a Power 5 team could potentially look like in the playoffs. So I am looking forward to this game, and I do think we could learn a lot from this matchup between Oregon and Boise State, and I'm interested to see how Boise State quarterback Malachi Nelson handles the pressure against a very good Oregon defense. There's a lot of things to watch for in this game, and I truly believe this is one of the more underrated games of the 2024 college football season, because it's really not getting any hype or recognition. But every single time these two teams have met, the game has been incredible, and Oregon needs to show up to play in this game if they want to have a successful season. So this game is very important, because slipping up against a Group of 5 team wouldn't be a great look for the Oregon Ducks. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. I did just start posting on TikTok, so be sure to check that out. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.